We're going to be talking about how the left's quest for social justice corrupted liberalism. Our guest is Donald Critchlow, who's the Barry Goldwater Chair of American Institutions at Arizona State University. He's the co-author of the book Takeover. He and W.J. Rorabaugh wrote this. Mr. Critchlow, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. Let's turn to Politics 101.
There you go. Donald Critchlow is our guest. Talk about your book that you co-authored is called Takeover, and its subtitle, How the Left's Quest for Social Justice Corrupted Liberalism. When you use the expression the left, we're talking basically about today's modern Democratic Party?
Yes, we're what we started to do in Takeover and why we decided to write the book is, like many Americans, we wondered how we got to the place where we are today. Winning agenda was able to get elected and what he really stood for. So in Takeover, we try to explain that in a short, readable book in which we explore how the radical left took party and how they have a agenda that's unprecedented in America, threatening our individual liberties and constitutional principles.
Donald, one of the things that is hard for us to understand in 2013 is that words that we use today don't mean the same that they've always meant. So we may talk about liberals today, but there was a different, at least in a lot of people's beliefs, there's a different type of liberalism. In the 1970s, there's a new progressivism that you're talking about. There's an older progressive movement. There's even an older one from the 1880s to the 1920s, Woodrow Wilson and all that.
Well, the FDR.
FDR.
Excuse me for interrupting. I'll let you get back to your question here, but they say FDR. You say, well, they're an FDR Democrat. You know, they're not. They would be culturally conservative, just as you and I are. But they believe in frankly the programs that big government.
Big government.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So Donald, how do you explain to people? How do you explain to people that liberalism, even classical liberalism, that these words change meaning over time? So how do you help people understand what's what and what the meaning is today as opposed to whenever?
Well, good question. In Takeover, what we explore is a radical agenda that took place that began to form in the late 1960s and 70s from activists who entered law schools and the law profession, the militant environmental movement, the feminist movement, the pro-abortion movement, and we have chapters on each of these topics. And I think there's a lot of new information in this book, and one of the problems that we dealt with is how was liberalism different, and how did these new progressives that formed around Obama, how did they take power? And we began with an understanding that the older progressives, FDR and even LBJ, often looked to the government to solve problems, and they were expanding government. But the new progressives really were concerned less about the problems of industrial society, which Wilson and Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt were concerned with. And they're more concerned, that is, the radical new progressives are much more concerned about what we describe as this consumption, that we're too rich. So all of their agenda is basically that Americans are too rich, that we're using too many resources, we're living too well. And so what their agenda is to control how we live in a way that FDR and others, the older liberals, weren't concerned with. So the new progressives want to control our lives, from the light bulbs we use to the soft drinks that we consume, to the cars we drive, and most importantly to our very health care. And they were joined by the militant activists, as well as foundations and corporations who were going to benefit by this new, powerful, unprecedented government intervention into our lives.
Talking to Donald T. Critchlow, Critchlow. He's co-authored a book called Takeover, and it's how the left's quest for social justice corrupted liberalism. I want to talk about the difference between, Ed, you alluded to this, but there is a difference between, for instance, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. And in terms, now they'll align themselves today on the same Democratic team to
right.
advance objectives. But Bill Clinton would have been in that traditional liberal, camp, whereas Barack Obama, the school that he comes out of, is what would have yesterday been considered a radical left, socialistic camp. So that Obama's agenda would be even further to the left than Clinton's. Have I got that right?
Yeah, you absolutely have it right. Obama and those people who've formed around him came out of the late 1960s when street protests had failed, and so they decided to involve themselves in kind of a uncoordinated way. There wasn't a conspiracy, but you had activists who got involved in the environmental movement, the feminist movement, healthcare reform, and community organizing. And this was a radical, much more radical agenda than Clinton and the old Democrats had ever envisioned.
That's how you could get to the point where a National Democratic Party convention would boo God and would take God out of the mention of God out of a party platform. And you wonder, and I know even some Democrats who are maybe from the old school Democratic Party scratching their heads going, how'd this happen? We've been taken over, and now, we've been taken over by these far left radicals who are God haters, Israel haters, Christian haters. They really are. They maybe wouldn't admit to that, but that's the way a lot of them would.
Yeah.
They replaced these new progressives, as we explain in Takeover, basically have replaced God with government and their own power, and they seek manpower, humankind power, and in the replacement of God, and the Democratic Party and the conventions delegates are secularist in outlook.
The American public has basically been described over the years as center-right, and politically I'm talking about. But now I'm wondering if that's changed today. And this is understand how I'm asking this question. Do you believe that Barack Obama would have defeated Hillary Clinton and won the presidency 2 times had he been white?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that large numbers of people voted for Barack Obama because he was African American, and there was a belief, concern with social justice, that it would be good to have a black elected. But I think, everything fell his way. We had an economic crisis.
Yeah, but he beat Hillary Clinton. She was going to be coronated. There is no way an unknown senator with a funny name,
and with very little experience.
And he's the one that said he had a funny name, Barack Obama. Right. I mean nothing about his name disparagingly. I'm just quoting him, basically.
Right.
He's the one that said this. And he's been in the Senate 2 years.
Yeah.
And he beats Hillary Clinton in a Democratic primary?
Yeah.
That was more impressive than beating McCain in a general election, because McCain was basically a weak candidate. But so, and to have such a far left agenda, which if you by the assumption that America's was a center right country, to elect a guy who says he wanted to fundamentally change America, you know what I'm saying? And he beats Hillary Clinton in a primary. To me, I don't think. I don't know what this has to do with the price of beans, except if he's a white guy, I don't think he has a dog's chance to beat Hillary Clinton in a primary.
Well, we explain in Takeover, we have a chapter chock full of information aimed at the general reader in how Obama was able to win election. And I think you hit upon a point of why Americans went along with this, and Americans still remain a center-right country politically. A recent Gallup poll showed that 45% of Americans consider themselves conservatives. And if you add independents who split, really vote one way or the other, we have a majority of Americans who are conservative. And so the question is, how come in a conservative country was Obama able to get elected? That's one question, but I think the more important question is what's behind this agenda, what's behind Obama's rhetoric of social justice, in which he persuades persuaded voters that he was really a centrist and means well and so forth. The question isn't really his intentions. It's really what that is his personal intentions. It's really what the agenda that's being promoted here. And I think it's a very frightening agenda, and we explore this in Takeover.
We're talking to Donald Critchlow, who's the Barry Goldwater Chair of American Institutions at Arizona State University, and along with W.J. Rohrbaugh have written the book Takeover, How the Left's Quest for Social Justice Corrupted Liberalism. Donald, let me ask you this. The phrase and term social justice sounds so wonderful. I mean, it almost sounds just American.
I'm ready to sing Kumbaya and hold hands.
I mean, so what is it behind those two words, social justice? What is it that's really behind it that you find so alarming?
Well, social justice has a great appeal to Americans as a Judeo-Christian nation. And I think we're all concerned with social justice, but the Christian tradition is really one of helping, being thy brother's keeper, and doing individual voluntarism and helping your neighbor and so forth. What Obama means by social justice in the rhetoric is to have government taking care of all the problems, and what the rhetoric is an appeal to people wanting environmental justice and justice for the poor, and as well as a lot of class rhetoric that the that the rich are living too well, and that Americans are living too well while the rest of the world is in poverty. But behind this social justice is more than rhetoric. It's very anti-capitalist, anti-free market economy, and calling for government power that's going to control our lives in ways that our founders just never envisioned, and is a real threat to the American way of life.
Are you broadcasting from a bird sanctuary?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You can hear the birds. Maybe I'll go.
It's very pleasant. I'm about to take a nap.
Okay. Well, I'm outside here in Phoenix, and the birds are beginning to wake up and sing to you.
It's not bad, Donald. It's very relaxing.
Yes, it is. We're enjoying our interview with you.
Go to sleep listening to bird music.
If you could put some sounds of the waves crashing on that would be even better. We're talking.
We don't want to hear that in Phoenix.
No, that's true. Duly noted. You talk about a tsunami. If a tsunami reaches there.